Perfect. Hello, everyone. Welcome to FinTech-Aviv event focusing on going digital, open banking as a concept. Happy to have you all today with us. We have great content and a lot of expert speakers all around the world who will talk about the trends and changes that are currently happening in digital banking across the world. I'd like to take this opportunity and start by, of course, thanking our great partners and sponsors for these events. You can see them around me, but truly great support to the fintech industry and Israeli Fintech Association. As we have a lot of content for you, if you're watching in the live broadcast, you can scroll down and have, if you have any questions or any comments you want to add, there's a place there, just send it to us. We'll be happy to share it with the speakers. Also, you have different value proposition from our sponsors and partners. Feel free to look into that as well. So we're going to start with opening remarks by Nir Netzer, Nir's founding partner at Equitech. So Nir, please take it away.
Thank you very much, Tal. Thank you everybody for joining us. So this is our fourth online event, and we're excited to be here. Excited that you joined us for this online event. I'm going to share my screen now. Today is actually something really exciting day. It is an exciting day for us because we have launched our section in the website for fintech careers. So we know that the COVID situation has basically is brought many of us to look for a new position in fintech. So we are currently can help our community members to find for the new challenge within fintech. You are most welcome to browse our website and to take a look at the open positions we publish there. And if you're an employer, if you're working in a bank or in a startup, in a fintech company, and you want us to help you with your talent acquisition processes, we're more than happy to do that. You can go to the FinTech Careers section on FinTech-Aviv website. Here in the top right corner, you have the button for employers, and you can list your open positions. And this job board will, of course, keep on and will be here for you, and we will keep updating this job board for you with time. So let's start. We're going to talk about digital banking today, and this is a very exciting event for us because this is a very hot topic. And we saw lately that there is a confusion between different types of digital banks. So we wanted to start first with just a short overview on the types of digital banks that the world is bringing to us recently. So there are new banks comparing to neobanks, comparing to beta banks, and comparing to non-banks. So let's start and understand which is which and who is who. So let's start with new banks. They hold full banking licenses. We all know N26 and Revolut working in Europe, Monzo working in the US market. They are direct competitors of tier 1 banks offering exactly the same services as the banks we know from the traditional financial industry. Now let's take a look at the neobanks space. There are so many. I think you saw this slide before from us because we're talking about this so much lately. This is a huge trend. This is a 2020 trend that became a trend already in 2014. And we call these guys challenger banks because they actually challenge the traditional financial industry. Okay, if we move forward, let's see another type is the neobanks. They do not have a banking license, but they partner with the traditional players to offer bank licensed services. So typically neobanks still require customers to have an account in an existing licensed banks, but they offer more user-friendly interfaces and fee-free services. So we have WeBank in China, Yolt, Moven, and others as examples. The third category are beta banks. Beta banks are basically a joint venture or subsidiaries of existing banks. We have Pepper in Israel, and we know Sberbank Direct in Russia, and some others working all around the globe. They offer financial services through the parent company license, and they're often set up as a way to enter a new market, and they're offering limited services to a broader consumer base. So these are beta banks. But I think that the most interesting category is actually this one, the non-banks, because they have no connection to the traditional banking licenses at all. And they provide financial services by other means, such as electronic money license, such as the way that WeChat is operating right now in China. They have a unique model that allows the company to operate independently, the way that Cabbage is operating or the way that Venmo is operating through PayPal. So this is a very interesting category that we often present when we talk about the future of fintech. You know how we talk often about the GAFA companies and the way that every company will become a fintech company. We have Google Pay, Apple Pay, Facebook efforts, and Amazon efforts to re-innovate the financial industry and all kinds of financial services. I have the feeling that some of you already saw this slide of CB Insights that is presenting JP Morgan Chase website with different services offered by Amazon. It's not just payments, it's not just lending, it goes way beyond that, even to insurance. And we see that Amazon and the rest of the GAFA players are definitely huge players in this game. So if we'll take a few minutes to talk about how it all began, we thought that it will be interesting to present the timeline of the digital banking industry and how things began in different regions. So we started exploring what happened in different regions, and it will be interesting to explore. Let's start with North America. It was already in 1994 when Stanford Credit Union creates the first ever online banking website. But we talked about GAFA players. We have both Microsoft and Apple here. So Microsoft is not an official GAFA player, but obviously is one of the biggest entities, private entities or public entities operating in the world. And Microsoft already launched Microsoft Money in 1994. This allowed more than 100,000 households to begin accessing banking services digitally. So that was a very interesting movement that started super early comparing to what we're doing nowadays. PC Financial in Canada, HSBC as a beta bank, and E-Trade became the first fully digital banks in North America already in 2005. And take a look at this. In 2007, Apple launches the iPhone, which begins the shift to consume digital banking through mobile. So we're talking a lot about mobile first, but here we see that now we're in 2020, we're adopting this approach. This started way before that. Venmo was introduced by PayPal already in 2009 as a payment service app. And Tangerine in 2012 acquired and became the biggest digital bank in Canada. So we see that North America was there quite early. But take a look at this. Take a look at Europe. In 1983, Bank of Scotland launched HomeLink, which is the first ever use of digital banking. It's an internet banking service in the UK, and it's super early, even comparing to the US market. And take a look at these two beta banks in 2005, ING Direct in the Netherlands, which became the first bank in Europe without a physical branch, and First Direct by HSBC in the UK that begins an online service. We all know Revolut, we mentioned them before. It was 2015 when Revolut launched its operations in the UK. Now they are operative in more than 30 countries with more than 6 million customers globally. It's a huge challenger bank. And the economy in Sweden launched DO, which is the world's first credit card allowing users to track their carbon footprint. So this is super progressive, also an interesting movement, also to another area of green investments and green banking in general. So these are the US and Europe. What happened in Asia? We see Japan Net Bank in 2000, which founded back then. It was the first ever digital bank in Asia. In 2013, we saw WeChat when they launched their payment abilities. Now they have more than 1 billion users. We talked about WeBank before. In 2014, it's launched as an entirely digital bank. It's founded in China and currently valued in $21 billion. In 2016, we see Digibank. DBS Bank in Singapore launches Digibank as the first mobile-only bank. By then, in 2016, Alipay was already processing 175 million transactions per day, and 60% out of them went through mobile. Alipay, by the way, started operating in China in 2004. It took 12 years for them to get there. And last year, we saw Xinja in Australia, which was the first online-only bank which was granted with the license. So this is Asia. And last in our list is Africa, which is maybe a bit late to come, but it's definitely a player which we can't ignore. So it was 2007 when Safaricom launches M-Pesa, which is a digital money transfer platform in Kenya. It was 2008 when Orange Money launches with basic banking services in Côte d'Ivoire. And in 2011, actually, they already started working in every French-speaking country in Africa, and they already added insurance, saving products, and utility bills and other payments. Time Bank launches in South Africa in 2015, which is the first entirely digital bank. And at the present, we saw in the research that 40% of Africans, they prefer using digital channels for banking transactions. So we see maybe Africa is late to come, but still a part of this game. So Europe and US, they started early and still leading the digital banking phenomena. Africa, digital banking industry has developed just within the past 10 years, but moving at a very promising pace. Asia was a pioneer in payments maybe, but far behind in digital banking and now beginning to catch up. And Southeast Asia is still way behind, but starting to close the gaps with new players and initiatives. So after this overview, we started to think about, okay, what will lead us or what we will find in the future. So we wanted to compare the trends of 2020, but then we saw a very interesting report by the Financial Brand that showed us what are the trends and priorities of digital banking 2020 comparing to 2019. And we saw a very interesting conclusion in this. Take a look at the upper bar here. So removing the friction from the customer journey was super important back in 2019, and it's very important now in 2020. And we see another thing, that use of big data, AI, and cognitive computing was even more important in 2019, and now it's less important. We see a very interesting movement to front end. We see a very client-centric approach. We see a client journey, which is emphasized. So we definitely see a trend or a movement towards front end and prioritizing it on top of back-end solutions. So this is where we see the digital banking going. And if we try to summarize this survey or a report, we see 4 different super interesting facts. First of all, the main values of digital banking is probably customer-centric approach, means mobile first, instant credit and digital payments, security, and constant innovation, means open API approach. And these 4 leads to a very interesting approach of, again, customer-centric approach. The customer-centric approach and the mobile first leads us to seamless banking and the client satisfaction, greater client satisfaction. The instant credit and digital payments leads us as an end consumer to increased usage. The security also brings us to trust and greater adoption, and the constant innovation and the fact that we're working on top of open banking and open API brings us to cost reduction and improved performance. So we definitely see that digital banking is here to stay, is going to serve us as end users today and in the future, in the long run, in the mid-range, and already today. So I hope you enjoyed this short overview and that you will enjoy the rest of the evening. Tal, I'll give it back to you.
Thank you, Nir. That's a great presentation and a very good start for our event. Great kickoff. Thank you for this overview. Next, we have Annalisa Gardner. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Annalisa is the VP Banking as a Service at Cross River Bank. And she's going to focus on powering your product. So, Annalisa, if you can take it away and share your screen
Sure. I will mostly speak to the particular content that I have today. I'll start with a little bit of background on me. I'm Annalisa Grander. I've been with Cross River now for about a year. I was recruited here from the Bancorp Bank where I was for about 11 years. While I was there, I built the bank side, built, supported, and then eventually onboarded the bank side of the Simple program, the Seed program, Borrow. I worked on the Chime program, the Google Wallet, EPS, Walgreens, and a whole suite of products really across the board. Prior to that, I came from a more traditional banking background with Bank of America and Citibank. But I wanted to tell you a little bit about Cross River today and walk you through the particular approach that the bank has in working with fintech companies. So about Cross River, we were born out of the recession in 2008, which admittedly wasn't the best time to start a bank, but the gamble that the company made actually paid off pretty significantly. We very quickly became one of the few banks still lending during difficult economic times. Our first fintech partnership, Green Sky, was growing rapidly through a Home Depot relationship and enlisted our help originating loans. That then became the core of our business. Working with fintech companies is now the core of our business model. Today, we work with fintech companies like Affirm, Upgrade, Upstart, Rocket Loans, Lending USA, et cetera, to do marketplace lending. We're underwriting loans at the rate of more than $1 billion a month, and we're providing access to credit to more than 2.2 million people on an annual basis. It's a great source of satisfaction that's very unique to our leadership team and to everybody employed by the bank. We also are the settlement bank for a number of fintech players, and we execute anywhere between 3 million to 5 million transactions a week. We offer cash management and transaction services for companies like Coinbase, Plaid, Stripe, Affirm. I continue to go on and on about the bank because I'm really excited about all of the initiatives that we have underway. You may have heard about our recent involvement in the payroll protection program that was meant to provide federal assistance to businesses that were impacted by COVID. Through the dedicated efforts of a ton of our team members, we were able to issue loans to more than 106,000 businesses approximately, which put us behind 3 of the country's largest lenders in terms of volume for this program: Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, and Wells Fargo. Given a staff of 350 employees, it's been quite an accomplishment for the bank and something that we're all especially proud of. Again, I could go on and on about Cross River, but let's talk a little bit about the front end and the back end of consumer products, particularly in the fintech space. So, as you know, there are a large number of front-end consumer banking products and services today. But because of this, the differentiation within the fintech space is more important and more challenging really than ever before. When Simple came to the market, it was, let's take a new look at banking. Let's throw away everything that's currently part of the customer experience and start over. But nowadays, differentiation isn't enough. Your product, well, it needs to function. So for a moment, let's leave the banking space and talk about cars. One brand in particular, Jaguar. So let's make a quick comparison and talk about what if your product is like Jaguar? I hope nobody on the call works for that more. I'm going to be in trouble. But from their website, Jaguar represents, and I quote, the ultimate combination of sportiness and luxury. The updates made to the latest model make the car look massive, and it emphasizes Jaguar's attention to detail. So being in the fintech world, you develop a sleek user interface, the best app the industry has seen since the Simple days. Again, I'm a little biased. But what if that app functions like Jaguar? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, let me continue with this. One of the vehicles was named one of the 10 scariest vintage cars to repair and maintain. And here's why. Again, and I quote, the car has 2 radiators fed by 2 coolants, 2 fuel tanks, 2 pumps. The cars are filled with mind-boggling maze of infamous wiring and fuse boxes that seemingly at random intervals along the fenders inside the engine bay. And when things do break, engine access is worse than anything except a twin turbo. The view of the Jaguar is dominated by a mess of vacuum lines and wiring that resembles the Windows Pipes screensaver. So why are we talking at a FinTech conference about Jaguar cars? Mainly because Jaguar is a quintessential business example of what not to do. Again, my apologies for anyone out there who works for Jaguar. Your UI is a very important part of how a user perceives your brand, but the engine underneath your product, the bank that powers it, the API infrastructure that supports it is key to a lasting and well-functioning product. Now, some of you may say, back to Jaguar, that the Jaguar reputation has recovered, but has it really? The lack of stability in their sales data tells a very different story. Even if you agree that their exterior is sleek and modern, and you're fond of their color British racing green, I believe. I'll end this particular story with this message. Behind every user interface is a product that quite simply needs to function well. So how do we do that? And let's get back to FinTech. To have continued success, you need to innovate to keep up. That's not a secret. Constant iteration of your product is going to be key to ensuring that you stay in the forefront of the market. What's less obvious is that you need to work with partners who have innovation in their DNA and who can truly support innovation. Partners that are continuously working to update their technology, their infrastructure to stay ahead of the curve and enhance the product offering. For example, last year, Cross River acquired Seed and their tech stack to expand the bank's offering and move into new areas and further expand the banking as a service space within the bank. That's the type of partner that you want to work with. You want to work with a partner that can enable you to concentrate on innovation while they assume responsibility for the regulatory compliance, consumer protection, and technology in the back end. Focus on growth and customer experience and work with a reliable partner in the back end. So the back end isn't something that you also need to be responsible for. So I ask, what are you doing to create and support a culture of continued innovation? Let me take a few minutes and talk a little bit about how Cross River does this. Partners plug into Cross River platforms, a platform that functions as a product, let's call it an engine. This gives fintechs access to over 500 APIs and endpoints, which they can then use to run their services. The APIs and endpoints were built by a team of over 100 engineers in both Tel Aviv and the US. Why does this matter? Well, this matters to our clients, especially because it gives them transactional capability in a way that's easy to integrate to. There's an inherent flexibility in this approach and in the company's overall approach to doing business. Flexibility in your engine is a key factor that's going to allow you to differentiate, to really separate yourself from the marketplace. Excuse me for a second. So my advice to you would be to look for this degree of flexibility in the service providers that you're working with. I'll give you another example. Our banking as a service solution is a perfect example of the importance of these features. A client like a firm who we launched in December can integrate to us and the processor in one integration, or a client can bring their own processor of choice. A client can use our customer support, which truly is best in the industry because of the quality and experience of the team and their leadership. We successfully recruited the person, the woman who actually set up all of Simple's customer service support, and they had a tremendous success in the industry. But you can use that customer support team, or you can decide that you want to bring your own. One other thing is when it comes to using other third parties, it's the same model of flexibility comes into play there, where you can, if there's somebody that you're currently working with, you can plug them into our current infrastructure, or you can work with some of the third parties that we already have on board. So this type of approach helps with the continued enhancements of our offering, and it can also help clients with providing a product that's differentiated and tailored while maintaining that flexibility that you need to adjust to an ever-changing environment. Today with COVID, we find that more consumers than ever are looking for something that's safe, that's reliable, that's electronic that really functions in an online environment, whether that be transactions that are cross-border or whether it's sending funds to a friend in the next town away. Getting away and outside of the physical spaces of the branch have become increasingly important. The societal and economic effects of the current pandemic also highlight the need for contactless transactions, real-time payments, increased cybersecurity, and of course, efficient banking technology. Helping our partners bring their vision to life really enables us to move this industry forward and to lead with our partners, constantly and continuously disrupting and raising the bar by removing some of these barriers for growth. So I encourage you to rise to the challenges that consumers and the current economic climate have created. I encourage you to solve for modern issues using a modern approach with strong tech-forward partnerships that really augment your product offering rather than make that product offering more challenging for yourself and for your end consumers. Behind that product offering, ideally should be an engine that enhances rather than limits your approach. So this is how we power our products and what I suggest you look for in your engine: collaboration, flexibility, and innovation. And truly, at the end of the day, a partner and partners that make it easier for you to do business.
Great, Annalisa. Thank you very much. It seems like your focus on collaboration and customer-centric really positioned you in the forefront of financing, as you mentioned before, and that's phenomenal. And for those of you who don't know, Cross River Bank is also being active in Israel, as you mentioned, coming to Israel and opening an R&D center, which is most welcome. So we look forward to see what you do also in this market. So Annalisa, thank you very much for this overview. And I would like to take a second to present our next keynote speaker, Shirley Shoham-Klein. Hi, Shirley. Shirley is the head of digital and innovation at the First International Bank of Israel. And Shirley, can you hear us?
Hi.
Hi,
Oh,
wonderful.
really like that. Wait, I have to take care of that somehow. Scary.
Very good.
Wait. Well, we'll live with green cheese. Thank you, Tal, for that intro. Hi, happy to be here. Glad you can all join us. The title of this event is Open Banking, as open banking is such a big word. And I'm very excited to present a real showcase, a real product that we've done. And it really feels like we poured some practical content into this big word of open banking. So we've done this a few times, and I shared a few products before, but this time I will talk about our cooperation with Priority Software. Priority, for those of you who don't know, is a leading ERP provider in Israel, in the Israeli market. They're also international, but I think in Israel, their market share is specifically higher than usual. And what we've done is we enabled Priority users that have an account with PIBI, with the First International Bank of Israel, to link their account directly to the Priority system so that they can consume data directly from the bank to the Priority system. But also, and this is the big innovation, and I think that we're the first in the Israeli market, they can broadcast orders directly from Priority to the bank systems. And that actually enables to save time, to reduce operational risk, and to reduce human errors. Because what usually is done for businesses who work with the ERP system, they have their payments to, for the suppliers, for the workers, whatever, and they have the invoices in the ERP system, and they have to then log in to the bank account and type manually the orders, or maybe download a file and then upload it again. It's a manual process which takes time and also is exposed to errors. And right now, we can enable the businesses that work with the product with a click of a button to send the orders directly to the bank. And this is actually the essence, I think, of open banking, is creating this secured and standardized connection, the API, between the financial supplier and the technology supplier in order to bring value to the end customer. So really, for me, it's the essence of open banking. And I think that we're just beginning the way. I mean, it's a small step. And again, it's innovative and we're the first in the market, but it's still a small step in the long journey of open banking.
Okay.
May I ask you a question on this? This is interesting to understand. This service with priority, does it exist in other banks or just Phoebe offering it?
No, so currently we are the first, and at least in the Israeli market, we are the first, and it's available only to customers with a Phoebe bank account. But I'm sure we won't be the only one. I'm sure that this will be in future years, in the coming years, this will be a standard, because this is really the most efficient way to work. But currently, it's available only to Phoebe accounts.
Mm-hmm. And do you charge extra charge from your clients for this service specifically?
We don't charge anything. Everyone who works with priority can have that model, and just it's really, the installation is very simple. It's again with a simple click, and you pay like you pay to your bank as any other order.
Outstanding. So this is an open banking example you gave, but what kind of other open banking initiatives you're holding in the bank? If you can elaborate, if you want to elaborate a bit.
So really, this is, as I said, it's like the first step. Obviously, like every other financial institution in Israel, we are now working our way through the open banking regulation, which will start to be in place in, I think, the first quarter of 2021. But we want to expand it, obviously. We are thinking of other examples that we can bring to business customers and to private customers. We can talk about account aggregation or having a holistic view of your financial activity and see it in one place. I think that it's a real need in the market, and as soon as open banking is in place, there are many, many other things we can do. And specifically about the ERP, I think priority is one ERP, but we're inspired to be able to give it to all our business customers, no matter what ERP they're using. So we actually enable it as a direct link as well. If our customer doesn't have priority, but they have IT department who can code, so they can connect to our API directly. Obviously, businesses can do that. So we want to be able to offer it to any other business customers we have.
So other than startups, that we know that you're working with startups, for example, that we scouted for you for the last 4 years, and you already integrated them and they're operative and running and they're live currently. But other than startups, what kind of collaborations do you have in mind in terms of open banking with different parties?
So actually the priority example is not a startup, but it is tech for sure. We are open to all kinds of cooperation. We can cooperate with everyone who gives value to our end customers. So every cooperation with a service provider that can add value to our end customers is blessed, and we'll welcome other providers to come talk to us.
It sounded so easy when you talk about it and explain about how you do it, but I'm sure there are complexities and challenges that you overcome. Can you elaborate a bit about the challenges you're tackling on the way?
Yeah, exactly. So everybody is talking about open banking and API, and it's like with a click, and it's like simple as that. But actually, it's not that simple. And really connecting those APIs and being able to do it in a standardized way is very challenging. The technological challenge is huge. That's why it wasn't done before. I mean, that's why it takes so many years. to get to this point. And I think that, even in Europe, when open banking is in play for, I don't know, 2 years maybe, I think I heard HSBC talk on stage about their open banking initiative. And they say, okay, so everything sounds great in theory, but then a customer logs in and they receive an error and then it disconnects. And really the connection and to be able to do it in a secure way is very challenging. And it's still, but now it's in place and in production, and we hope our customers can enjoy it.
Well, thank you very much, Shirley, for this insightful speech. It's a pleasure to host you as usual.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Bye. And Phoebe, of course, as always, has been supporting FinTech-Aviv and the entire, let's say, FinTech community in Israel. You have great use cases, and as always, it's wonderful to hear about the impact that you're doing in the Israeli market. So thank you very much, Shirley Shoham-Klein. For our next session, I would like to invite Mr. Christoph Dabrowski. Christoph Dabrowski is the COO at mBank. mBank is one of the leading Polish digital banks. And first, Christoph, thank you very much for joining us. It'll be great if you can give us a short overview about mBank activity and your activity in the bank, and then we'll drill down. And
okay, thank you for having me. I hope you hear me well.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so mBank is what I like to call, this was the original fintech of Poland. It was the pure digital bank established around the year 2000. We already heard the story today that it's not good to start a bank during the crisis. So mBank was precisely started when the dot-com bubble burst. So it was a very risky moment. And I always say that we've been the fintech before it was fashionable. And we were the dot-com startup when it was already slightly passé. So starting from that point, we built ourselves into a fourth largest bank of Poland. And it's a very nice story of the organic growth. So there were no acquisitions whatsoever. Partially during our journey, we became a bit less pure digital because our customers demanded the branches. So we developed a small and tight branch network, but we still remain, at least in my opinion, digital in the core. So here we are.
It's remarkable that you started from digital and moved to physical, where almost all the rest of the banks in the world have done this the opposite direction. But indeed, for those of you who don't know, mBank is very active in Poland, and maybe, Christoph, if you can share with us a recent implementation or development you had in mBank to enhance digital engagement or even internal digital processes, not necessarily customer-facing.
Okay, so I think there are a few things that I could talk about. Some of them we were cooking for quite some time. Some of them were very recent developments, but all of them culminated during the COVID pandemic.
Right.
So we actually had to change the way we were operating quite quickly and to move ourselves from the partially physical space to fully digital space. And part of the challenge on the internal processes were to basically relocate everybody to work from home. Mm-hmm. Because this pandemic probably showed to everybody that the BCP strategies that were based on the let's say remote locations and special disaster recovery sites are not really up to the task when just one single employee can bring you down. So we undertook the challenge of dispersing our contact center to work remotely. And in a matter of a week, we basically converted from a few hundred strong contact center in 3 locations into few hundred people strong contact center in few hundred locations, being those people homes. That was huge thing, and it was harder than you can imagine on many fronts. But at the same time, it gave us huge resiliency in the COVID pandemics, because essentially people could keep perfect social distance, and the service to our customers was uninterrupted because of that, and we are quite proud of that. Maybe it's not something extraordinary, maybe outside of banking world, because there are companies like that in Poland, in telco and other sectors when they do this. But from the banking sector, we were the first to do it on a massive scale, and basically we are not looking back. So it might be actually our new normal. And I think the other thing that I would like to mention recently in the last, let's say, more than a few months, let's say it was the year's worth of work, because everybody got accustomed to that the retail world is much more digital, because the consumers are digital and they basically demand similar from the bank. But the corporate banking, from the corporate banking for the largest companies to the small and medium enterprises, let's call it a bit more conservative word. And it's not even because the banks want it, it's not even because sometimes the companies want it, but also that there are certain customs, there are certain laws and certain habits in the society. Then the corporate world is the serious word, and serious word, at least in Poland, means pen and paper and a signature. So we've been working hard to implement digital processes also for the corporate world, not only internally, but mostly customer facing, to reduce the needs to come to the branch. And we've been doing this for last year. We digitalized already quite a bit of processes, and this, I'm saying, it culminated during the pandemics, because precisely when we wanted our customers to stay home, they finally could for many processes. So this particular journey is not yet over, but we are not stopping. And actually, thanks for the pandemics, also the expectations of if there are anything good, there's anything good in pandemics, the good outcome is that the expectations from the customers versus the bank are changing quite rapidly, and they in the places when they wanted paper and pen, they really started to demand digital, which is good, which is what where we are good at, and we are there to deliver for them.
It's actually, well, you mentioned two parts. First is internally, how you mobilize everyone or demobilize everyone back home, and how you're currently working digitally, every single person from home. And this raises a lot of new challenges, because all the KYC processes are completely different now, as people are really changing their routine. And another aspect, which is I think even more interesting, is the focus on corporate banking, which is not something that we see a lot, but recently, because anyone in corporate banking essentially is also using, to some extent, retail banking, and they see the type of convenience and the level of the high level of interaction they can get from the bank. And when they're moving back from retail to their corporate hats, they lack this interaction. And we actually have with mBank a great process on finding internally what type of digital processes we can bring to the table in order to enhance digital engagement with corporate banking. And I'm not sure that a lot of banks are understanding the trends that is being promoted right now. A lot of focus is on retail, where corporate can be much more interesting, and not to mention the revenue side, which can be much more dramatic. So can you share maybe something from the corporate side that you utilized recently?
Mm-hmm. So I think I cannot reveal, let's say, everything, but I think
Yeah, of course.
the trend would be that, for instance, when we talk about APIs, I like to think that on the corporate side, we basically had APIs forever.
Yeah.
The difference was that when we say APIs in the current, let's say, cloud world, we mean basically one API which is created once, evolved, documented, and then it's massively used by hundreds of thousands of the customers, hopefully. Yeah. But in the corporate banking, we used to have APIs, but they were a bit more cumbersome to use, and they were adjusted versus every single customer. Why? Because we could, and they demanded. Because when you are dealing with 100 customers who would like something custom in the integration, and they, I don't know, they are like third largest telecom of the country, you just do this because you have a big business. But so one thing that, and the trend that I think is gonna hit corporate banking from the retail side is that there will be more and more of this, let's say, fixed APIs that are not meant to be customized per customer or per large customer, but they are actually meant for mass consumption by any of the customers. And I think more standardization here will also help, and more support from the ERP vendors would also help. So that's something where we are going. I think that the whole relationship and account opening on the corporate side is something when you should actively look at us, because we have something coming. So because on the retail side, it's quick and painless. On the corporate side, it's much more complicated and usually requires a visit in a branch. So we are going to change this picture a little, slightly. So watch this space, and it should be out soon.
Good. Looking forward for exciting news, and definitely let us know. First, as you're aware, in Israel there are more than 700 fintechs. The entire fintech ecosystem here is thriving, and we'll have today different companies presenting their solutions. It'll be interesting to get from you some insight on mBank's digital roadmap. Maybe some of the challenges that you've prioritized currently. We'll of course look for the corporate side, open account engagement, but what other fields do you see that now are a challenge that maybe third-party startups can perhaps assist in?
Okay, so I think the security is an ongoing concern. I think that at least maybe I don't want to use the word special, but our case in security is that we already have certain in-house solutions. And I'm talking here about the fraud management. This is the quite important topics for us. So we are not looking for the complete solutions. Instead, what we are looking for either components or let's call it a scoring sources or scoring APIs, because you can attack the problem of your frauds from many different angles, and we have quite a nice engine that allows us to do so. But you are only as smart as your experience, let's call it, or as your knowledge. So we are actually already prepared even from the architectural perspective to work with any external provider who can deliver us either some valuable data that we can use in real time, then we can use to do the scoring on the transaction flow that we have inside bank, or with the partners that can, based on the information we give to them, they can do certain scoring that will give additional precision, let's say, or efficiency to the system that we have. So we are actually quite interested in working with let's say non-sexy kind of startups that don't have any user interface and anything, but they are super smart, they have the right API, and they are super good in what they are doing in a it could be even very niche type of transactions or type of frauds. Yeah, we are interested, and this also goes to the, let's call it, maybe not the RegTech, I think, but everything around the compliance, basically, because another layer, which is not exactly the fraud management, but everything with money laundering, everything with sanctions, etc. Everything that we are supposed to protect, let's say, the society from. This is again something when I'm looking at the vendor landscape, there are vendors quite expensive, I must say. So I think this is the space which is very ripe for disruption by smart people who have bright ideas. So I think that's in this area. This is the area where I'm quite open and actively looking for the solutions. Anything that can remove the tension from, and it's not only on the user experience, but also on the legal side, the tension from the digital signature and everything around it, because it's still problem that is looking for the right solution, which will be on one hand safe, on the other hand, let's say court proof, and also very easy for the end users to use. We have something, we are using it, but in my opinion, we are far away from being there yet. Also from I'm not only working at the bank, I'm also the customer of the bank and other institutions, and at least in Poland we are not there yet. So anything on this front is very valuable, because it will remove another need to come to the branch, another need for your wet signature. So I think this area is very useful. Document verification, anything, I mean, anything that facilitates remote business.
Which resonates very well with the time now with the pandemic, and how future engagement between banks and customer would look like. So there are a lot of solutions in Israel that can be relevant, and we'll definitely talk about different aspects of startups or solutions that are focused on how to reduce the costs of financial institutions in all their fraud prevention, sanction list examination, and etc. This is definitely a topic entire RegTech, which is coming to life even more now because of the remote interactions required with end customers. Okay, thank you very much, Christoph. This was very insightful, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of the listeners right now have ideas of what they can present. So definitely, if you want to reach out to mBank, just send us an email or approach us, and we'll be happy to connect. Any last advice you think you want to add about digital banking in general?
I think I would just say, let's use the opportunity, because the openness of the customers to the digital experience went stratospheric right now. So the time is now, because if, fingers crossed, the pandemic is over soon, then people might revert to the old ways. But if in the meantime we will present them a new, a better, a more digital way, it will stick. It will stick, because today it actually solves very real problem. You don't have to convince anybody for the digital banking. You just need to make it right. The time is now.
Yeah, I totally agree, and thank you very much. Okay, thank you, Christoph Dabrowski. Christoph, as I mentioned, is the COO of mBank. Thank you for joining us today. Next in our agenda, I would like to invite Thomas Rettenwunder. I hope I pronounced it correctly, Thomas.
Not bad at all. Hello.
Hi. So Thomas is the business development at Besurance, and he'll present their company, their solution. Thomas, please maybe introduce yourself, where you're from, and a little bit about Besurance.
Very happy to. Thank you, Tal. Let me just see if I can share my screen. Let me know when that option is available, and happy to share a couple of slides as well.
Sure.
Yes, well, I'll give you a bit of an intro on Besurance. The name gives it away a little bit. We're an insurtech, so digitalizing insurance, and we see a huge opportunity in the developments in open banking. Nir presented a very interesting timeline a little bit earlier at the start of today's event on the development of open banking and digital banking in general. And it's interesting to see how that compares to developments in the insurance industry. As you might be aware, we're lagging behind a little bit, but trying to catch up. Bank assurance is one thing I'll be speaking about a little bit, and which basically is the partnership between banks and insurance companies, and for the future. And this is also the reason I'm sure you invited us, and the reason this is relevant to open banking as a concept is that partnership. And for the future, that means that insurance companies will be working and connecting to the open banking ecosystems.
Great, looking forward. And I think you can share your screen now if you need.
Let's see. Doesn't seem to be working yet.
Second.
Never mind though. I can keep trying. Just let me know. Either way, main point. I don't want to focus just on Besurance as an insurtech. Of course, I'll give you a bit of insight in what it is we do. But I think for the participants today, focusing about open banking, it'll be interesting to see what role insurance can play and why it's relevant. Maybe more generally speaking, and there we go. Thank you very much, Tal. I can see I can share my screen now. Let's see. Here we go.
Great, we see it.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah, so as a concept, open banking is all about collaboration through technology. It's the partnership I mentioned earlier, not only between banks and insurers, but in general between companies in the financial industry. It means sharing data, but more specifically and specifically relevant for us as an insurtech is transaction data. And it's the transaction data that is allowing, from our perspective, true innovation in the industry. Since we can use that data to act on customer needs and expectations instantaneously. Something also Annalisa from Cross River mentioned earlier, the partnerships, the enablers, and we definitely see ourselves as one of those. So being able to act on that is something fairly new, also very relevant to the insurance industry. On the one hand, because with historic transaction data, we can think about what insurance products might best fit your banking clients and would have the highest potential for your target group. So that allows us to develop completely new insurance products and coverages. But on the other hand, we're no longer limited to being in personal discussions with banking clients to figure out what important life-changing events they have and try and fit certain products to that. But with the data, we can change that to really, well, fairly trivial daily events even, to suggest coverages and insurance solutions on basis of transactions, on the basis of client behavior directly. Well, ideally, of course, through their platform, through their app and whatnot. That's yes, a very nice development for us to see what push messages can do. So basically means that we see as Besurance, bank assurance as a vital part of any open banking ecosystem, just like you would typically think of payments, trading, lending. Insurance is just part of the financial service universe. So why not connect it to your bank? At the same time, interestingly enough, we see how open banking platforms are also driving a certain transformation in the insurance industry itself. As I mentioned earlier with the timeline, the insurance industry tends to be a conservative one. So with new platforms, maybe outside of the direct insurance space, there's new potential, maybe new distribution opportunities that have caught insurance incumbents' attention, and that we can now easily connect to. I mean, I understand Shirley said earlier the APIs sound very easy. It's a bit more complicated than that, but at least we are now indeed able to connect to different systems. So let's focus a little bit on customer expectations in this new environment. Banks have always sold insurance. Clients have gotten used to a certain level of service, standards, product lines, etc., generally offered from their relationship managers. But as Christoph from mBank rightly mentioned earlier, we're of course in a world where we're moving away from the typical physical branches and going towards digital marketplaces. So customer expectations have become a bit more demanding. We're seeing solutions for customers changing also from the typical mass-produced packages or standard insurance products towards tailor-made solutions. I'll mention Shirley again from the First International Bank, because she also mentioned the customer focus, and that's something which is extremely important for all of us, I believe, when thinking about how we set up an open banking platform. Because, well, co-creation is a bit of a catchword we hear more and more. It's no longer a standardized product in itself that's a priority. It's all about a customer-centric approach, focusing on integrating products that are really relevant within a customer journey. It has to be logical for a client to see or have an opportunity to access something. And with data analytics and live customer interaction, that becomes possible thanks to technology. So as an insurtech focusing on embedded insurance, we're part of a global, rapidly growing $1.2 billion bank insurance market. So far, bank insurance has been dominated by life insurance products generally related to bank loans and credits. So open banking from our perspective is also an opportunity to rethink and reevaluate the product portfolio and more importantly, the changed customer needs. A lot more has become possible for the product spectrum. So this is just a quick overview to give you a few ideas of what insurance means nowadays and what type of insurance products, especially in the P&C space, so property and casualty, have become more relevant to the market. And instead of more traditional static life insurance products I mentioned earlier, property and casualty can use transaction data to offer very dynamic premiums based on usage, allow for real-time customer decisions with the help of push messages or any other technologies I mentioned earlier. Even to quickly decide from a consumer perspective, to quickly decide on the coverage they need for a specific situation. So it's become much more flexible. And no matter if we're talking about home, utilities, mobility, travel, any other lines that are relevant to consumers. One thing before I mention a case study I'll go into a bit later on is just to underline also the potential of insurance, a quick explanation of our setup. So we're B2B2C as an insurtech, meaning that on the one hand, we're helping insurance incumbents digitalize, which has certainly been a bit of a challenge, and use REST APIs to connect them to open banking platforms, either from retail banks or from their external partners. And not all banks develop these things internally, of course. And after connecting them, we can then focus on the back end and on the data flow, handle policy issuing, claims management, etc. So we're a bit of an intermediary, streamlining this whole insurance process and management for a seamless experience for the customer, which in the end is the whole point for the customer to be able to remain in the banking portal, in the banking app, and not change tools like they might have changed branches in the past. So for the case study, very happy to give you some insight on this project we did recently with Raiffeisen. Raiffeisen is the largest bank in Austria, and through their payment app, Blue Code, customers can buy ski accident insurance in real time. And why this is relevant to the open banking topic we're discussing today is because the customer in the end is using the bank's application, and he's not only able to purchase the insurance product directly, but he would actually receive a push offer based on his location or based on him buying a ski pass in the area, and then gets the suggestion to maybe consider also including an insurance, meaning that for that specific moment he'll have a coverage that's relevant, and that relevancy is something very, very important. Of course, it means that everything's in real time. So also when they purchase, they receive the policy straight away. It doesn't take 2 weeks for it to land in the mailbox and things like that, which add to the experience, the customer journey, just the ease of use, really. And it's only one example of how we work, of things that are possible, and the way we want to transform the way we perceive insurance also from a bancassurance and banking perspective. Again, focus shouldn't be on just selling a standardized product, but on offering a required coverage for a customer in a specific situation, at a specific point of time and need. And that this opportunity is what really makes insurance indispensable to any open banking platform. So maybe to close, what's in it for you? What does it mean for banks? On the one hand, open banking, we would say, is the perfect alternative to your traditional bancassurance distribution. You increase the convenience, satisfaction, trust of your customers, and in the end, that's what consumers are looking for nowadays. And at the same time, you can reach new customers because you're offering insurance products that are relevant, coverage that's new, innovative, and makes a difference for those consumers when they decide on what finance provider, what bank they want to go with for the future as a complete package. For the people from the industry, what does it mean for banks and their customers especially, that they will have you as a top of mind brand, that they will know that that you're available for any type of financial service. So again, it shouldn't be limited to one specific service like insurance, but the whole idea of open banking is for it to be a one-stop shop of some sort, which makes it far less likely for consumers to start shopping around, comparing products, which has been a challenge for many of the players in the market, and ultimately ensuring a long-lasting relationship. So in other words, you'll see a significantly lower churn rate, increased customer stickiness, to use a few of the popular terms and words in the industry. Yes, well, have everything in one place. So in the end, the concept of an open banking platform. So thank you very much. And of course, do get in touch if you would like more information, have specific questions. But Tal, back to you.
Thank you very much, Thomas. On this, you really focus on the insurance side of digital engagement, which is something that not many people are familiar with. So really thank you for that. I want to just say that truly I think that the disruption that you're trying to do in insurance, it really changes in different markets, because some markets are the banks are able to provide insurance products, and some in others like Israel it's a bit more complicated, but it's definitely a realm that to be explored. So thank you very much, Thomas. If anyone have a question for Thomas, please reach out. Next, we have I would like to invite Tal Doron. Tal is VP Solution Architecture at Gigaspace. We'll focus on a modern microservice approach for the future of FinTech. Hi, Tal, are you with us?
Yes, hello. How are you doing, Tal?
Wonderful. Great background.
Thank you. That's actually a real background, not a virtual one.
That's why it's so good. Yeah.
So thank you for having me. I'll try and share my screen. I hope to work my first try. Let me know if you can see it. And we can go ahead and start.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, good. So this is great being here. Open banking, it's a challenge. The way Gigaspace sees open banking, it's one of the many challenges in the financial world. Essentially, open banking is kind of like one of the car types, and now you're asking, what engine should we use? If we use a 50 horsepower, 100 horsepower, 1,000 horsepower engine to power it underneath the hood, and this is where Gigaspaces comes into the picture. As a company, we are a software vendor. We actually, we've been around for nearly 2 decades in the market, powering small, medium, tier 1 banks all around the world for different use cases, anything from risk management, trading, and others. Our HQ is actually in Israel, so we're an Israeli company with branches all over the world. I'm actually located in Israel, and we'd like to kind of explain and preview what we have to offer in this financial domain. With me, I have Uri Kirsten, who is managing the activity specifically in Israel. And of course, we'd love for everybody to get in touch with us. We have a lot we can explain. And we'll actually talk about a few topics: microservices or microservices approach. Where do they meet business needs, and how does this all relate to open banking? We have a very nice case study, and we'll summarize in a slide what we've discussed. So let's start with the business problem, or what actually is happening nowadays. But to understand nowadays, let's look at the history. If we're looking at the history of databases, we've started out with mainframes, relational databases. We've evolved with really cool technology, NoSQLs. We've tried to handle different data types, different data throughputs, the velocity, the veracity, everything is increasing. And at the parallel track, there is something very interesting happening in the market. The analytics track, it's advancing as well. Anything from this traditional BI, slice and dice reporting, moving on to more ad hoc analytics, insights, and even prediction. But that's not the end of the road. The road is, well, still ahead of us. And what's up next? Well, that is really where proactive analytics, or something called translytical platforms, augmented transactional platforms, this is where the future lies. And it's part of this kind of bigger ecosystem and a set of questions where open banking is, I would say, part of a methodology or an API. But the question is, and I've heard in previous talks, what lies underneath? Well, the problem is in traditional architecture, and I'm not going to dive into the products themselves, but in this kind of technology, it's very complex. You would build an architecture, a workflow, and this all workflow will be for probably one kind of service. But the question is, can you build something so complex that to solve something which should be simple? How do you handle streaming? How do you handle batch transactions? How do you handle real-time analytics? Well, it's a problem. And how do you do it while lowering overall costs? Well, Gigaspaces, we thought about it. We know what we're doing. We expertise in in-memory computing, in distributed systems. Our software can actually be deployed on traditional infrastructure, may it be on-prem, on the cloud. This is something very interesting and very attractive, especially to new startups and fintechs, where it may be banking or insurance, because this is a very interesting solution that can solve many challenges of high throughput, low latency challenges. Now, this kind of architecture relates to open banking in a very, very obvious way. This is the engine. It's a simple, strong, one of the strongest engine you can put underneath the hood. It can handle ingestion, it can handle transaction, it can handle analytical queries. It's kind of a one-stop shop engine. So from the business perspective, where would you use this kind of engine? Because it is a question we're being asked a lot. Well, obviously we're here to talk open banking. Definitely underneath the hood, this engine will provide you whatever speed you want to go, you'll be able to use that engine. Furthermore, you want to use it for fraud detection? Sure, you can use it to train models, deploy models. Part of your transactional workflow of payment processing would be for fraud? Sure, no problem. Digital payments, we have banks using us as their payment processing projects, workflows, instant payments. This is very interesting because not only provides the milliseconds end-to-end kind of workflow, this is also out-of-the-box scalable platform. So it seems we're solving more and more challenges. Regulatory compliance. Well, once you have a platform that you can very much engineer and developer-oriented, you can actually comply with any regulatory requirement, may it be GDPR or anything else in the market. Legacy modernization. Well, mainframes, databases, standard databases, even NoSQLs. Very often, they're not the answer. Maybe they're too slow, maybe they cost too much. Well, who knows? Personalized engagement, next best offer. If it's in insurance, offer very, very customized, tailored insurance portfolio. I see insurance companies trying to do it, but data is sitting in disparate systems all over the place, different databases, some is sitting on the cloud. There's no one place that can access and manage everything. How can they provide something tailored when data is actually stored all over the place? Provide market data as a service, new revenue streams for financial services, a very interesting one, and AML and KYC. So all in all, we see that being able to provide this kind of services or provide this engine underneath the hood is very important for all business lines, not only open banking. If we're talking about payment processing, I know that also we'll be speaking also about their payment processing algorithms and their application. That kind of company can utilize Gigaspaces as an engine underneath the hood. So if we're talking about going fast, you need this very, very strong engine. So let's take a step back from technology and look at a specific case study. One of our customers, one of the actually the leading online bank in the Nordics, Avanza Bank, is utilizing Gigaspaces in a very unique way by actually placing most, if not all, the banking software infrastructure on and actually within Gigaspaces, fully leveraging Gigaspaces in the microservices approach kind of way, where the data is sitting together with the services, with the logic within Gigaspaces platform. This is very interesting because this is one of the use cases where we have a customer, which is a bank, but it's not a bank. They see themselves as a technology company. And that's what makes them very unique and what makes them very attractive alternative to the competition. So who are they? Well, digital, from the start, they are number one in stock at Nasdaq Stockholm. They actually have over 1 million customers, and I believe the number has grew since this study was created. They don't have a lot of employees. There are not tens of thousands of employees. They're a small bank, but they rely heavily on technology. Why am I saying this? Because foremost, the bank's agenda is customer satisfaction. That's the number one thing they're trying to relay. And they're doing it very well. They have continuous number of growth by customers and volume. They are innovative. And when I say innovative, I cannot describe how much, but they're doing it because they simply rely on technology. That is the basis and everything they're doing. Technology is not something they compromise on. It's something they are pushing. They believe that with the right technology, with the right architecture, don't be conservative, be disruptive. Why? Because by being disruptive, you can create a differentiator that will make you unique in the market, make you attractive in the market. In what way? Well, I'm happy everybody was asking themselves that question. Well, for example, in February 2020, they had 32 million visitors to their site, the website and mobile. I know that since mobile started years ago, the number of visitors has grown somewhere between 5 times and 25 times for majority of the banks. They need this strong infrastructure, which obviously the traditional infrastructure cannot provide. By leveraging gigaspaces, they're able to provide lower fees, better customer experience by providing months of transactions history to their customers, something which, well, from my personal experience, I haven't seen in a lot of banks. They're able to provide loan approvals in, well, practically real time. And they are able to stay number one in stock market transactions. When you use this kind of technology, you're able to do all that. Do not be conservative, be innovative, use disruptive technology, be on the bleeding edge. And that's where they're getting. Gigaspaces was introduced to the bank around 2010. It was introduced when the bank had roughly 100 or just lower 100 something services, not a lot of customers, and they needed a technology that could free them away from traditional databases and traditional architecture. And the interesting part that by 2011, 2012, you see the growth really started. Not only the amount of customers started to grow, but also the amount of services deployed in the bank. So this is a very interesting approach, and we're seeing it, by the way, not only in banking customers, we see that in aviation customers, we see that in gaming customers, we see the same trend happening. So this trend is very important. You want to be agile, you want to deploy services and update services on a weekly basis. You want to be agile enough that when COVID-19 started, deploy half of your services to adjust to the current situation. They're able to do that because they see themselves as a technology company more than a bank. And they put customer experience on their flag, and they're successful. From back-end perspective, this kind of technology, gigaspaces, distributed technology, also allows to cope with spikes and peaks. I see this, I call this Black Friday, Cyber Monday kind of peaks, where we all know that during those times, we see e-commerce sites completely failing. Avanza doesn't fail. None of our customers are failing during those times, even not on peak hours or in spikes. This is number of equities deals per day. As you can see, there are spikes. And as you can see, after 2015, the spikes, not only they're growing, but the spike itself is growing tremendously. So notice that now they have over 1,000, I believe they across that number, actually a lot more. The number of applications, which are actually services which are deployed. And the spikes, well, that's easy. Once you have a distributed platform underneath the hood, it's easy to manage any kind of workload. So you're asking yourself, well, is GigaSpaces good for one workflow? Can I use it just for payment? Can I use it just for insurance or just for saving? The answer is yes. But it's like asking, can I use open banking for just one thing? Well, the answer is, well, yes, but it's kind of defeats the purpose of open banking. You can use GigaSpaces worldwide. You can use it across clouds. You can use it across regions on-prem. You can use it in different projects in different areas within the bank or the fintech, and you can use it for different kind of systems. But the common thing is having this mission-critical, stable, scalable kind of data platform, which you can also deploy your services to that platform. And that's what makes it unique in the market. So to sum this session, GigaSpaces is a software solution. It will provide you, if you want, hundreds of millions of operations per second. It will provide you this low latency, even microsecond latency if you're building a trading platform. It will provide you the ability to handle peak loads, at extreme peak loads. And I'm seeing this in some of our e-commerce customers. It will allow you to ingest and store and transform any kind of data, structured, semi-structured, unstructured data, different data models for the technical people on the audience. This is a very unique offering. And one of the important things, GigaSpaces is not a startup company. It's a robust solution being deployed in hundreds of customers with no unplanned downtime. And that's what makes it robust and very unique in the market. So I hope I got you intrigued. I hope you will want to hear more. And I'll be more than happy to discuss the platform, and feel free if you want to download, play, or reach out either to me or to Uri. Of course, startups, digital banks, anybody that's interested, we're here for you. And for startups, we have a startup program. Sorry, I forgot to mention, please don't be afraid. I know we are been in the market for a long time, but we love startups. Reach out.
Thank you very much, Tal. Great overview of your product, and truly wonderful use case. I hope you'll have many more to share with us in the future. So thank you very much. This was Tal Doron from GigaSpaces. Tal is VP Solution Architecture. Next, we will have Carmi Bogot, Vice President of BizDev at Hub Security. And Carmi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
All right, wonderful. Yes, we hear you, we see you. Actually, it's good to have you with mBank. We had a short discussion about cyber solutions when not necessarily facing the end customers, but even when they're a bit more focused on a niche, it's very relevant for them. So I think your product and solution at Hub Security can be very useful. So please take it away.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you to all the people who've been online now for about an hour and 35 minutes. I hope to provide you with some interest in what we're going on. We're going to speak about a scintillating topic called security. Thank God that up until now, security has been mentioned by almost all of the presenters before me. And so instead of talking about security, we're going to do something about security. I have a few slides. But before that, I want to show you something that we've done that's a little bit unique. This little thing might not look strange to you, but this is an HSM. HSM is a very, very interesting acronym. Stands for Hardware Secure Module, which sounds really boring. This is the world's smallest and most secure HSM, and it's even got a little display, and it's going to show up in our presentation, I'm going to go over to my slides. Let me try to share my screen. Hopefully I can do that. And share and pop. Okay, here we are. So a little bit about Hub Security. And here we go down. Well, believe it or not, Hub Security is an Israeli startup. We've been around for about 3 years. Unlike any other crypto security startup in Israel, and this is a little bit tongue-in-cheek, our basis is in the Israeli military. We have experts from the Israeli military, all of the elite units, and also our funding and board of directors is also the prime security people in the state of Israel. This is our security background. We've been doing it for quite some time. I myself am not on the slide. I'm not a founder. I've been selling security products since 1991. Wow, nobody should guess how old I am, but I was part of a company called NDS, and I used to protect television, and now I protect money. If it isn't clear to you by now, through this hour and a half, banking is changing, and it's been changing for quite some time. And so you can't expect new banking to use old security platforms. And the interesting thing about it is that the core of security platforms for banking is these hardware secure modules. And believe it or not, most of the ones in the market today are 25-year-old technology, which makes us a little bit different. Now, hardware secure modules are used for lots of things in banks. Every time you do a PIN card, every time you change your password and all that stuff, traditional banks, represented by this nice little bank in this picture, have been using hardware secure modules for a long time, and they will continue to use it. But certain things, for example, like when you operate in a regular bank, every now and then everybody has to, all the people that are responsible for keys need to go to a central location and type in all kinds of weird passwords on tiny little screens just to change these keys. Well, that goes away with our platform as we support remote secure key management. But basically we support all of the traditional banking needs that a traditional bank needs, because as we've seen up until now, online banking is normally connected to traditional banking. Now, online banking has all kinds of other cool stuff. First of all, it's got to be online. And so it needs to be accessible 24/7, and you need to make sure that everything can be done remotely. This is not only for customers, but actually, as we are more evident now with our wonderful coronavirus or COVID-19, not only are the people remote, but the managers are remote. And so we need to actually do a lot of bank management remotely and do all of that securely as if we were at the bank. And this is pretty difficult with people working on their home laptop or their home Wi-Fi and other things like that. This bank management and secure operation of the bank itself becomes extremely difficult and hard to do. And so under one roof or on one platform is actually the correct way to say it, we provide support for 3 different operations. We provide support for traditional banking, online banking and blockchain, which is where online banking will be going, cryptocurrencies, et cetera, and stuff like that. And of course, also the remote management and policy enforcement of the bank. Just a small example of what can go wrong. And again, when you sell security, the first thing you do is you think about what can go wrong. So many companies that deal with security have to deal with policies. Policies are, for example, I need 3 people to approve a loan. That's a policy. I need something like that. Even if those people are authenticated within a secure computer, normally the execution of the policy is done outside the secure computer, and hence it can be attacked in many methods. The software can be attacked, the keys can be attacked, the username and password can be attacked. In fact, now with browsers, you can easily attack what the approver sees on their screen. You don't need to steal their keys. You don't need to hack their smart cards or their dongles. You just need to fiddle with their display. So when somebody goes to approve what he thinks is $1 million transaction, is actually proving $100 million transaction, because he didn't see the 3 zeros on his display. And these are hackings that happen all the time. Just with Bitcoin, I think many transactions were hacked every year through browsers and things like that. And security and remote access to all of your banking, while you need to be online, needs to be protected. And that's what we do. I am not going to talk a lot about this slide because unless you're technical, it's a little bit boring, but we have a patented firmware firewall which keeps all the nasty little hackers out and runs everything inside, including applications like policy enforcement, smart blockchain wallets, know your customers, smart contracts, and all that stuff gets executed within the confines of the secure computer instead of being executed outside the confines. For those who are familiar with security, FIPS is a standard for measuring the level of security provided by secure platforms. The highest level is level 4, and our hardware is ready for level 4 certification. And so we're at the highest level that we could possibly be. There's a ton of little bullets here that I am not going to go into in depth, and we really would like to talk to people in depth about them. HSMs, especially in the ever-evolving world of online banking, need to be secure and agile at the same time. That is a difficult thing to do. In particular, old HSMs have all of their security in discrete logic, which makes them secure, but not flexible. Other HSMs are basically PCs with everything in software. That makes them agile, but not secure. We do things in firmware, which makes us agile and secure. We don't have to worry about operating system patches because we don't have an operating system, and many, many more things. You'll notice at the bottom, we've talked about quantum, post-quantum ready and quantum security. I don't want to predict the end of the world right here, but there are people that say that when quantum computers go along, all of our key exchange mechanisms like RSA, elliptic curve, and Diffie-Hellman go out the window, and they can be hacked. And so when you're dealing with a crypto platform or a security platform, you should prepare yourself for what's going to happen within the next 5 years. And we've already done that. This is just a very, 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 very high level slide that describes how our components work together. So we have two things, as we said before. We have the Vault HSM, which goes in the traditional location of traditional HSMs. It goes either in a cloud provider or on-premise in a rack behind some locked door with access to the internet. And this is where regular HSMs goes. Ours, of course, have a lot more features as demonstrated in the previous slide. And then that little device that I held up and showed you, that's over here, that allows you to manage your HSM from anywhere in the world as if you were behind the locked doors. So we give you the ability of all the secure management, but we can let you do it from anywhere in the world because we put an HSM in your hand. And this allows us to do both standard key management, which banking with traditional banks needs, and secure blockchain APIs, which newer banking and newer fintech needs, and all of that is in one nice package. We have a lot of partners. RiskQ has actually evaluated our security. When you do security, you actually give your platform to people or companies that specialize in breaking it. So we gave it to them. We said, break it. They couldn't. Good for us. We gave it to Lloyd's of London. We said, evaluate it, see if it's secure to ensure custodial services and stuff like that. They said, wow, this is secure. We can use it. And there's even a company called Malka Amit, which literally deals with the transfer of gold and precious metals. And they've evaluated our platform and said, if we want to send gold from place to place, we need to make sure that precious metals are kept precious and not stolen, we should use a secure platform. And they decided to use ours. This is my summary slide: military grade cybersecurity platform, very flexible, easy to use, insurable, designed for the cloud, and all that other wonderful stuff. You can contact us. My name is Carmi at Hub Security, and I will love Tal to ask any questions now. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Great, Carmi. Thank you very much for this overview. Maybe if you can, just a short question on maybe a use case that you have experienced from Hub Security.
So like I said before, we first of all, you can look at some announcements that we just made. So while online banking is related, of course, to a blockchain, we announced a while ago that we are the security platform for TokenSoft, which is the ability to provide end-to-end security for all of the blockchain. And unlike other HSMs, all of the activity is done within the HSM. It's not like a mixed model where some of the software runs outside and some of it runs inside. In our case, everything runs inside. This gives TokenSoft's customers a much higher level of security. The other thing I talked about is the secure policy enforcement or the secure transaction enforcement, which enables people to very, very securely authenticate end users and make sure that exactly the flow for approval gets taken place. As I mentioned, this is happening at a precious metal provider. We're currently in a beta testing with a critical infrastructure provider, so that if somebody from remote wants to turn on and off a turbine in a power plant, you really want to make sure that the guy turning on the turbine and turning off the turbine is the guy that's supposed to turn it, is the right guy, and it's the turbine that he's supposed to turn on and off. And all of that end-to-end user authentication and very critical security is done through our platform. So we provide a level of security from, we can use standard 2FA software clients for low-level stuff like Google Authenticator, RSA keys for mid-level stuff. And as I said before, this little guy, when you really want to be secure, and all this end-to-end package that people get to use.
Okay, Conry, thank you. Actually, this in nowadays when most of the authentication need to be remote, this is very highly important. So thank you, Carmi Bogot. Carmi is the business development at Hub Security. Next, I would like to invite Noam Nevo. Noam is the co-founder and CEO at OSO, and is going to focus on the open banking payment revolution. Hi, Noam, can you hear me?
Hi, Tal. Nice.
Perfect. We can see you. We can hear you. Hi.
Hi. Hello, everybody. Thank you, Tal, for the intro. So as Tal mentioned, my name is Noam. I'm the CEO and co-founder of PayOsu, and we developed payment solutions over open banking. And like Tal mentioned, we are now witnessing what we call a silent revolution of open banking, where we see this way to pay actually fundamentally change the rails of legacy money transfer and bringing new ways to conduct payments over a new network. So if you bear with me 1 second, I will share my screen. Here we go. So the way payments are done today, especially online and through card rails, are convoluted, slow, costly, very prone to fraud and prone to chargebacks. Money passes not only through 4 to 5 hands, but also the transaction confirmation, which is something that is rarely thought about, also is required to go through 4 to 5 authorizers before a payer can actually send money to a payee. This causes this whole process to be, first of all, very costly. Each one of the players that you can see here actually takes a slice of some kind of fee. And in addition, each one of them, because they need to approve it and actually hold the money as the money needs to transfer between each one of these, the money transfer itself is very slow. The way we are doing payments is actually flattening this whole process and making it much simpler, in which the payment is directly transferred from the payer to the payee. So imagine that you're buying now a camera online from some kind of camera shop. When you do the payment is immediately deducted from your bank account and transferred to the merchant bank account. Here, the real-time settlement offers highly liquidity solutions for the merchant. And since a lot of these, let's say, partners of money transfer have been removed, the cost can become extremely low. This is all made possible through open banking, which through regulation forces the banks to open their APIs to any fintech or any developer that wants to connect. And since then, it's only a matter of, let's say, your imagination on how and when you will move money. We serve a way for us to actually differentiate ourselves from the payment market. We have the ability to serve both online, which is the normal way you pay today, and offline point of sale payments. So imagine getting to a cashier at Primark. Cashier will scan your items, and instead of giving a card or paying by any other way, you have a notification, a push notification on your phone in which you just select your bank, authenticate the payment with a Face ID or a fingerprint, and the payment is processed. You don't need any third-party software. You don't need to hold any kind of wallet, and makes your life much easier. We believe that the main point of change here is actually consumers becoming smarter. So if now you ask an average consumer what happens when he gives his credit card, nobody will know to answer. Nobody knows what really happens. You have no control over your finances. It's some kind of mystical process that happens in the background. Here, you immediately know that money is deducted and transferred as if you were doing a manual transfer yourself. This actually causes customers to become in better control of their finances. And from surveys we conducted, the understanding of the way money is moved actually incentivize customers to use this platform. A good example is actually here in Israel, where there is no open banking and everything is based on cards. And recently, Bank Hapoalim came out with BIT. BIT is kind of a pseudo bank-to-bank transfer. It's actually backed by credit cards, and there's no real bank-to-bank. But from a consumer perspective, it does feel like a bank transfer. They do a good job of communicating what happens. Domino's Pizza has partnered with BIT to accept these kinds of payments, and 40% of payments over Domino's Pizza have moved to this new payment method. From our customers, and every day we onboard new and new customers, we see every day an increase in conversion rates where customers which are used to either pay through debit or credit card are now shifting and starting to pay through open banking. Our suite is a full solution for payments. So we have the advantage of leveraging advanced technology and technology components in order to offer many ways of paying. I think one of the speakers before us was from Gigaspaces that offered a data grid, which allows us, amongst other things, to offer great scale and support thousands of transactions per second. And this allows us not only to go to normal e-commerce payments, but talk about subscriptions, point of sale, and even payouts. So any wallets that are out there, we can offer a full solution of pay in and pay out, and all of it was developed over open banking with our own fintech technology. And the vision that we see payments going forward is eventually open banking will take the whole field. So from e-commerce payments to financial products on checkout, point of sale, true contactless, all of this, we will see a shift in the next months to next years to be over open banking. And companies like ours are the one leading the charge here and actually offering innovative solutions over it. So this is us, and this is our vision for this, and to take any questions now.
Thanks, Noam. I'm not sure you see me. Have
Yeah.
you mentioned a use case, but can you tell us from your experience in first maybe in which market you're currently active and some highlights from that market?
Sure. So we're fully active in UK. UK was the first country to fully adopt the PSD2 regulation by September 2019. All of the major banks there have supported it. We're fully active there. We're now expanding into Europe, Italy, Spain, France, and Germany, where there most of the major banks have supported this. I think it's important to note that open banking at the end works on the current latest infrastructure. So in UK, it's over the faster payments, which allows instant settlement. And in Europe, it's over SEPA, which SEPA offers two products, SEPA Credit and Instant SEPA. Where Instant SEPA, this is the real deal where the money is transferred immediately. So we're only connecting to that as we see this is the full offering. Our clients vary from high risk, high volume markets like money transfer, gaming, gambling, and crypto to normal e-commerce, direct to merchants. Some of our clients are platform providers in which we become their open banking partner, and they, additional to legacy payments, now offer our technology on top of their platform.
Phenomenal. Thank you very much for the insight, and I hope to see you grow and join us in the future events as well with more use cases and more markets. Thank you, Noam. Noam is, as I mentioned, the co-founder and CEO at OSO. And next and final presentation, we have a keynote by Tal Amram. Tal is the co-founder and CEO at Crimbo, or Crimbo. You'll tell me how we pronounce it.
No, that's Crimbo. You did it correctly. First
Crimbo.
time.
Perfect.
Crimbo. Quite a few tals on this call. Is that the new fintech name?
Yeah, we're trying to build it up. So Tal, please tell us a little about yourself, about Crimbo, and how do you work in the digital landscape?
Yeah, so we'd be happy to share my presentation if that's okay.
Of course.
Give me a sec.
Great. We see.
Got it?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so thanks for having me. Happy to be here. I know that I'm the last one, so I'll try to keep it short and interesting. And I do hope that I'll talk about a different angle of open banking. And I hope that at the end of this conversation, it would connect, and you'll think differently about open banking, financial institutions, and digital assets, and it might appeal a bit better or look a bit different of what you're thinking to begin with. So let's kick off. I actually believe that digital assets are the next step in revolutionizing our economy. I don't think it's an if anymore. It's a matter of when. I know that for a few years it was an if, but today it's not. And actually the market trends support that. If you look at Bitcoin, for instance, there's 100% increase in Bitcoin wallets for the last couple of years. And alongside that, you see a cash decline. Cash usage is going down, obviously Sweden being the lowest point with 6% of all transactions done on Bitcoin, on cash. And if you look at the trends will continue, the momentum will continue, because post-COVID-19, countries are actually promoting their own digital assets. So the momentum will keep going. So if we've covered the if, let's talk about the who. There are thousands of financial institutions globally that are actually eager to join that market and offer digital assets. For them, it's a new source of revenue. It's a way to diversify their offering and a way to attract new audience. Now, this reflects to all of the types that Nir mentioned at the beginning. It could be new customer, new banking, neo-banking, non-banking, whatever it is. They're all eager to do that. And some of them have the offering, but again, not complete and comprehensive as we'll talk about it. And to be fair, it actually makes sense that they would offer that because it's financially right. Think of you if you're buying a stock. You don't buy it at the stock exchange. You buy it through your financial institution that buys it at the stock exchange. So they're financially right. Financial institutions provide the regulation. They provide global presence with the local experience. They provide better end customer accessibility. They can provide cheaper pricing. So it makes sense that they would offer that. So if they're willing to offer and it makes sense, why are they not there? Well, simple answer is they face too many market barriers. Cost being one, because if you want to build a system, it's an expensive entrance ticket, especially for the lowest financial institutions. But it's not just that. Actually, they face a lack of, they have lack of knowledge and skills in means of blockchain and that technology. They have unknown regulation and they don't know how to tackle AML aspects, for instance, on digital assets. On the technology side, it's a different and complicated technology. It's not what they have in-house. They manage various risks on that aspect. They don't know how to sort out various sources of liquidity. And bottom line, they're not sure which value they would offer to their customers on top of current services. So bottom line, they stay out. Now, at this stage, probably most of the Bitcoin purists lost me because they think that digital assets should be offered not by financial institutions, but should be a decentralized utopic world. It's a nice utopic world, but it simply doesn't work. If you look at the numbers, 99% of world's population haven't acquired any digital assets. And why? Because it's cumbersome, because it's complicated, because it's limited, because you have to deposit your funds in advance, because it's against their financial habits. So they stay out. This is where we get in. Crimbo is a holistic digital asset platform for financial institutions. And when I say holistic, obviously we're a deep tech company, but it's much more than that. It's a concept to begin with. And our concept actually, we're the first SaaS B2B network, which is tailor-made for those financial institutions. That means that as a network, as a concept, we network all financial institutions globally, meaning we actually offer a global solution, a global network of financial institutions that can settle deals between themselves, that can offer each other digital assets, that can do immediate and global transactions, that actually, because of that network, have no counterparty risk. And as a result, we actually create new sources of liquidity, better rates, offering only clean assets, because obviously we have regulation embedded, so AML and KYC embedded would offer only clean assets. So this means that this is the first time that someone can offer to those financial institutions a holistic solution that covers all of their needs and aspects. Now, obviously, we've got a secret sauce here, but basically what we did is took the economy as we know it today and adapted some of the solutions to digital assets. So we know it's working. So the only thing we have to do is offer digital assets on top of it. So we adapted it correctly. This means that now any financial institution can join without setup cost, without exposure, without the worries of volatility. You can now create higher margins. You can now offer to a new audience. You can cross-sell and upsell with his existing products. He has no fiat limitations, by the way, because of the way that our solution works. I think he also has better positioning, because if we're talking about open banking as a topic today, open banking means offering new products to my customers. And I think that this brings more customers and it brings higher customer satisfaction and a better positioning. And if you think of it, they'll be there anyway. So why don't you lead the way? So on that aspect, they're actually eager to join today. This concept obviously has various benefits to end customers as well. If you think of it, our solution, if you compare it to existing one, which is mainly exchanges, obviously, then it's easier to use. It's an easier in and out. You have access to multiple sources. You have a local experience. You can actually pay with any means of payment. You can find the optimal pricing and do it in a regulated manner. So the concept itself doesn't only fit our customers, which are the financial institutions. It also makes sense to the end customer, and bears various benefits. The company was founded by Eyal and myself. We actually combine 40 years of real-world global experience, much of it obviously in the financial sector. So we know their needs, we know how they think, we know what they need, and we build it with them, for them. We're also backed by a great advisory board, Dr. Boaz Barak and Mr. Shai Datika, both recognized leaders in financial industry. They're familiar with banking, new banking, open banking, and any sort of financial solutions. Our go-to-market is quite unique. We've created a concept, which is a fiat marketplace a couple of years ago, which was built for one purpose and one purpose only, which is getting a lot of financial institutions onboarding into our network. That's it. And as of today, it's a success. We have almost 3,000 financial institutions on that network, and they're going to be our go-to-market strategy, which makes it easier to launch. This year, we're launching in UK and Israel. That's the first two locations that we choose. And we're looking to scale globally to additional locations. Our concept actually allows that, because our concept, our B2B concept, allows us to rapidly grow because we can work in any location globally, so we're not limited by the location. We can work with any FI, any financial institution, as long as he has a license and able to offer digital assets. And thus, we actually reach large number of end customers with minimal marketing costs and efforts. So this is how we grow rapidly in many locations. The elephant in the room, we have to discuss about it. Obviously, coronavirus. But if you think of it, it actually paved the path to digital assets because they might perceive as an alternative. Countries are actually issuing their own currencies. Look at China, look at Sweden. Many of the businesses have experienced a major drop in their business, and they would like to diversify. People are working remotely. They need additional means of payment. And obviously, we see cash avoidance globally. So if you think of it, all vectors, I mean, the market, the regulators, the banks, the financial institutions, the end customers, they're all aligned. And they're all promoting digital assets in a way. So we've got a growing global in-need market. We've got a unique concept. We've got an experienced team, I have to say that. And obviously, we're working with thousands of financial institutions, and so it looks promising. We're actually onboarding customers these days. So anyone that would like to approach us, please feel free. And then as any startup, we're obviously also fundraising. So obviously on that aspect, you can also contact us. And my details are attached. And Tal, feel free to ask whatever you'd like.
Great, thank you very much, Tal. Looks exciting, and you definitely have the background to it. So I also hope to see you grow, and currently in the UK and Israel. Maybe just give us what is your first engagement in UK and how does it look? And Tal, you still with us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm here. So the reason we choose to work in the UK, first of all, we're a UK company. We're a UK entity with an Israeli subsidiary. So it's quite easy for us to kick off in the UK. We've got quite a few customers actually that are already working with our fiat marketplace product. And if you think about regulation, then FCA actually promotes, I would not say promote, but they actually enable digital assets, because if you're offering, for instance, Bitcoin or Ethereum, you don't have to have any special license. So actually any licensed financial institution can work with us, and we only have to comply with AML5 standards and be registered. That's it. So it's very easy to kick off in a country like UK, although, as you can imagine, they're quite strict, but enabling you to work.
Okay.
I would not talk about Israel on that sense of enabling and regulation, because it's a different story.
Yeah, we'll save it to another event.
Tal, another question for you. How easy is it to onboard to your platform as a banking partner? I mean, how long will it take? Besides regulation, of course, technically speaking.
So we've built it in a couple of options. It could be a standalone. So if you're a small financial institution, even the smallest one, you don't need to have anything. We don't need to have to integrate it to your systems. It's a one-stop shop that covers all of your aspects, A to Z, to selling those assets, including KYC, AML, integration that we did to third parties. So if you want to kick off, it's a one and done. Just all you need is a browser, and maybe the help of those guys that can secure everything that talked earlier. But all you need is a browser. That's it. And if you're a larger one, obviously we can integrate it into your systems, and it is a small project. It's not a big one, because again, everything today, if you're talking about open banking, using APIs, everything is quite simple on that angle.
Okay, thanks for that. And we'll make sure to connect you to Hub Security. I feel like it's a good match here.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it, guys.
Thank you for the overview of Crimbo, and hopefully again we'll see you grow and have you with us with future development and future markets. This now concludes our event for today. We had a lot of content and a lot of speakers. We want to thank again to all the generous sponsors and partners that we have who are supporting FinTech-Aviv, the Israeli FinTech Association. Please stay tuned. We're going to have a lot of exciting things for you, from a FinTech job fair to next future events, which hopefully will have a physical event very soon in the near future. Nir, any update or anything else from your end before we conclude?
No, I want to thank all our speakers for an outstanding event with really insightful content. This was really an exciting opportunity to discover more features about digital banking, and I'm sure we'll get back to it quite soon.
Definitely. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thanks. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.